Okay. All right, let's see. Does everything sound okay, guys? Is the music okay? Is the vibe right? How's the vibe? Look at that, man. We got Maze, Mystic. We're gonna go ahead and put you where you should be. There we go. Goddess Lily. JWP. What does JWP stand for? That's what I'm curious about. Man. The vibe is chill. That's good news. That is how the vibe should be. All right, we are gonna start in just a few minutes. What time is it? All right, we're early. We're good, guys. We're good. The music is good, right? It's nice. It's good, relaxing stuff. If anybody has any interest in coming on to speak about this one, then hey Zaya, you guys let me know in the chat, and then you need to join the. Actually, I might as well show you, right? All right, so if you would like to come on and speak, you're gonna have to come into the Discord, come down to the red section, and just join that voice channel. Once you join, make sure you are muted. Otherwise, I have to mute you, and then I always forget to unmute you, and then it becomes a problem later in life. So just mute yourself. Make it easy, please. Otherwise, just hang out. I'm gonna go ahead and throw a link to the Discord in the chat here, just so it's there, and then we'll get rolling. This will be a good one, man. I'm very excited about this. Fibonacci is something that I use literally on a daily basis. So it's something that has a great impact on my normal day-to-day life. I find it very interesting. So it'll be, I'm just excited, man. I'm excited to get into it. This should be really good. All right, let's see. Ghostgate, there he is. There he is, man. Shannon, it's so good to see you. I hope you're feeling better. You've had a rough go, man. You've had a rough go. I hope things have leveled out. At least mostly, at least somewhat. I hope things have leveled out for you and you're feeling better. What a rough month, basically. It's been like a month. The floof is in the house. All right, couple minutes, guys. Couple minutes, we're gonna go. Well, at least you're home, Shannon. That's good. That's a plus. That is positive. You know, that's positive. It's good. Take care of yourself. Drink a lot of water. Eat healthy food. Don't eat garbage. It's not gonna help you. Be responsible. Love yourself. Love your body. Good vibes. Good vibes, y'all. New age good vibes. TikTok, go to YouTube. Oh, those suck. Hopefully you won't have for too long. Yeah, she's had a rough go, man. Shannon's been living the life. Living the not so fun life. All right, let's get it going, because I want there to be conversation on this one. So I want to burn through it. So welcome to the Theist Thesis podcast. Tonight is the Fibonacci Sequence. Fibonacci Sequence, golden ratio. That's really going to be all of it. The way we're going to tie this into religion, kind of, is because Fibonacci Sequence is also known as God's fingerprint. And you will see why it's called that as we get into it. But the Fibonacci sequence, or Fibonacci, or the golden ratio, or God's fingerprint, is something that we see in two places primarily that basically extends to all of our entire existence. And those two things are nature and human behavioral psychology. So we're going to run through both, split into two, covering nature on its own, and then covering human mass behavioral psychology. If you don't know anything about Fibonacci, we're going to go through like a very, very brief, short video that will explain what exactly the Fibonacci sequence is. So I'm going to pause the music. I'm going to get a video up here, and we're going to watch this real quick. So this is a 5-minute video. I might cut it off, but I want you to at least kind of get an overview in a very plain way. I will say right off the bat, the Fibonacci concept is complicated. It's a simple idea. It's a simple mathematical idea, but how it interacts with the world is complex. It's complicated. So listen and try to tell me really fast if it's too low and you need me to turn it up. Uh-oh. Oh no, I can't hear it. Can you guys hear it? Yeah, you can hear it. All right, let me know if the volume is too low, guys.
Have you ever counted the number of petals on a flower? If you counted them on a flower with petals all intact, you would likely discover that the number of petals is a Fibonacci number, that is, a number from the Fibonacci sequence. Many flowers have 3, 5, 8, 13, or 21 petals, all of which are numbers in the sequence. The leaves of cacti and the seeds of sunflowers are arranged in both left and right-handed spirals. The numbers of seeds or leaves in these spirals are also generally in the Fibonacci sequence. We have 2 hands, both of which have 5 fingers, and each finger is divided into 3 parts. All of these numbers are also Fibonacci numbers. Moreover, the lengths of the bones in our hands also fit into Fibonacci ratios. So, what's the Fibonacci sequence anyway? And why is it seemingly everywhere? The Fibonacci sequence is a series of numbers in which a given number is the result of adding the 2 numbers before it. So, if you start with 0, the next number will be 1, followed by 1, followed by 2, followed by 3, and so on. As you can see, every number in this series or sequence is obtained by adding the 2 preceding numbers. Individual numbers in this sequence are often referred to as Fibonacci numbers. Mathematically, the Fibonacci sequence is represented by this formula, where n is greater than 1. You can use this expression to find any nth digit in the sequence. This fascinating sequence is widely associated with the mathematician Leonardo Pisano, also known as Fibonacci. He hailed from the Republic of Pisa, which is why he is also known as Leonardo of Pisa, and is considered to be one of the most talented mathematicians of the Middle Ages. At the time, Europeans were still using Roman numbers, while Hindu-Arabic mathematicians were using a different number system that was more robust and efficient. Fascinated by the brilliance of the Hindu-Arabic numeral system, Fibonacci brought it to the Western world in 1202 through his now famous book, Liber Abaci. In the book, he reviewed and compared the Hindu-Arabic numeral system with other systems, such as Roman numerals, and described how using the Hindu-Arabic system made calculations faster and easier. Although his book contains the earliest known description of the Fibonacci sequence outside of India, it was described in ancient Indian texts by mathematicians as early as the 6th century. So, what makes the Fibonacci sequence so special? To the uninitiated, this famous sequence may just seem like a series of numbers, but the Fibonacci sequence has been discovered and rediscovered in various forms, not only in mathematics, but also all across the natural world and in our everyday lives. There's also another exciting offshoot of the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio. Suppose you have 2 quantities, a and b, wherein a is greater than b. Now, add a and b and divide that sum by a. If this ratio comes out to be equal to the ratio of a and b, then you can say that a and b have a golden ratio, which is represented by the Greek letter phi. Write down the Fibonacci sequence on a piece of paper and calculate the ratio using this formula. You will notice that all Fibonacci numbers have the golden ratio, the value of which is close to 1.618033. In geometry, when the golden ratio is applied as a growth factor, you get a special type of logarithmic spiral, known as a golden spiral. Simply put, a golden spiral gets wider by a factor of phi for every quarter turn it makes. You can find examples and manifestations of the golden ratio and golden spirals in countless places in your everyday life. Seashells are some of the most common examples of the golden spiral found in nature, but ocean waves, hurricanes, flower buds, snail shells, and spider webs are just a few of the other naturally occurring examples. Many artists use the golden ratio or the golden spiral in their creative works. Legendary painter Salvador Dali explicitly used the ratio in his masterpiece, The Sacrament of the Last Supper. Architects also commonly use the golden ratio when designing buildings and other massive structures. Popular Swiss-French architect Le Corbusier, who is widely acclaimed as one of the pioneers of modern architecture, explicitly used the golden ratio in his modular system. From snail shells, flowers, and bananas to the inside of the human ear, iconic buildings, and galaxies far out in the cosmos, the golden ratio can be seen everywhere. This is probably why it's also known as the divine proportion. There are so many places to find the golden ratio or Fibonacci numbers that it's impossible.
All right. So that's that. Okay. That's a very brief, obviously short version of what it is. Let me just get the audio back where it should be and get y'all your lovely music back. Okay, quick overview, right? Quick overview. Now, getting into it a little bit more. In 1904, Arthur H. Church wrote about Philiotaxis, which is a leaf arrangement of plants, showing its relationship to a mathematical series based on the works of Fibonacci, Leonardo Sano. This mathematical series of numbers has been attributed to a quality of representing human behavior, amongst other things. Examples have been given that appear to be more than interesting coincidences. And yes, I did speed it up. One thing you guys might not know about me is when I listen to things, I listen to all of them basically at 1.5 or 1.75. So you got to get used to it, because I'm probably going to do that to you a lot in the future. So just get used to it. It is not certain how Fibonacci conceived his summation series. His great work, Liberace, written in the early part of the 13th century, was not published until 1857. It contained a description of a situation involving the reproduction of rabbits, in which the following two conditions hold. Every month, each pair produced a new pair, which, from the second month on, become productive. Deaths do not occur. This becomes the famous Fibonacci summation series. Those who have studied the life of Fibonacci often attribute the series to his observations of the Great Pyramids of Giza. This is super interesting. The pyramid, dating back from pre-literary and pre-hieroglyphic era, contain many features said to have been observed by Fibonacci. In the geometry of the pyramid, there are 5 surfaces and 8 edges, for a total of 13 surfaces and edges. There are 3 edges visible from any one side. More specifically, the Great Pyramid of Giza is 5,813 inches high. That's 5, 8, 13. And the inch is the standard Egyptian unit of measurement. And the ratio of the elevation to the base is 0.618. If you remember in the video, the golden ratio is 0.618. The coincidence of this ratio is that it is the same as the ratio that is approached by any 2 consecutive Fibonacci numbers. It is also true that the ratio of one side to a diagonal of a regular pentagon is 0.618. Another phenomena of the pyramid is that the total of the 4 edges of the base, measured in inches, is 36,524.22, which is exactly 100 times the length of the solar year. This permits interpretations of the Fibonacci summation series to be applied to time as well. Pythagoras left behind a symbol of a triangle of Fibonacci proportions with the words, "The secret of the universe," inscribed below it. Now, first, I want to show you some of the places where Fibonacci shows up in nature. So I found a nice little article here for y'all. Here it is. 14 interesting examples of the golden ratio within nature. We're not going to read it all. If you guys want me to send you this, I'll send you this. But one of them is flower petals. You see it a lot. In the video, spoke about it very briefly. Again, but the number of flower structures that you can find that align with the Fibonacci sequence or with the golden ratio or with the spiral it's alarming. It's a lot. It's a very, very high number. Just something to think about. So next time you're out and you're in nature and you're looking at flowers, pay attention. Look at it. Notice it. See if you can spot where the ratio lies. All right, I'll put it in the Discord. I gotcha. Second is seeds. Same thing. You'll get the spiral ratio. And anybody who doesn't know, another thing that shows up a lot in nature is general geometry. But a lot of the time, the way that it shows is dang near perfect. The geometrical patterns that we find in nature are perfect. One of these examples, Ben Shapiro. Yeah, Ghost Kid, I saw that. One of the examples is like a honeycomb, right? Bees. Bees work in a geometric fashion, which is just really interesting. Pine cones are another one. From the top, the way that they spiral fits the ratio. Tree branches. This is true to a point, but it's not always true. Obviously, there are going to be flowers that don't fit the ratio. There are going to be trees that don't fit the ratio. There are going to be things within nature that don't align, right? So it's not a universal rule, but the number of things that you will find, geometry is the language of God, says Gargar. Yes, yes. And Fibonacci is the fingerprint, and that's why it's called that. So it's not a universal rule, but it's a statistical. It's just so improbable for it to be an accident, right? This is one of the things that when speaking to atheists about how this is all random, everything is random. It's just, it happened, it evolved over time, and just somehow magically, all of a sudden, randomly, this is how things ended up. Like, no, dude, they don't. No, they don't. That's not how random works. It's perfect. We find perfection, and we find our entire world is built off of math, right? It's built off of math. The rings too, Jalen. Yeah. So a lot of trees, the branches will fit the ratio. They will. But also, yes, if you were to chop a tree and then look at it, look at the insides of it. God, I got something in my eye. Look at the insides to see the rings, which is also the way that we age trees. You'll find it there too. You'll find it in the spiral format. Shells is another one. You'll see this image a lot whenever you look into Fibonacci, and it's based off of the shell. Wild. Spiral galaxies is another one. Super common. You can find the spiral within that, the Fibonacci pattern. Hurricanes, same thing. Same thing. It fits almost perfectly a lot of the time. The human face also many times gets you this 1.618 level. Animal bodies as well as human bodies. The way the human body is split. Both our hands, our feet, our arms, they all fit within the Fibonacci sequence. Dumb cat, you are ahead of the game because we're moving to that next. And then insect bodies, reproductive dynamics, animal fight patterns. This is super interesting. When a hawk approaches its prey, its sharpest view is at an angle to their direction of flight, an angle that's the same as the spiral pitch. So that same spiral pattern. Wild, wild. DNA molecules are the 14th on this list. So this is just something I wanted to share. I thought it was really interesting. Obviously, seeing it in nature. Pay attention, man, pay attention. See where you can see it. The easiest place to spot it is, like I said, within flowers. Sometimes within trees, it's harder to spot, but it's there. But flowers are going to be the ones that really like stick out to you the most. The hair pattern on the crowns of our heads. Yes, yes, dude, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Now, next thing. Dumb cat was onto it. For those of you who are not financially inclined, this is a price chart. Okay. For those of you who don't know, I'm a big finance guy. I day trade. So I work my day job, and then at night and during the day while I work my day job, I day trade. So I'm in and out of the financial markets all the time. I trade cryptos, I trade stocks, I trade commodities, I trade Forex. So I'm all over this. Okay. Within trading, Fibonacci is huge. So what you see here is a Fibonacci retracement tool. That's this red part. Okay, so how this works is, I guess, for those of you who are totally ignorant to this, these are called candles. The blue candles are the price going up. The white candles are the price going down. What it represents is literally millions of people placing buy and sell orders manually all throughout the day. Within the crypto market, it's 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Within the traditional financial markets, it's Monday through Friday. Weekends, the markets are closed, so the price just stops. But what this represents, every time you see this blue line go up or down, those are people buying and selling contracts, or buying and selling the asset or the commodity or the ETF, whatever it is. So as the price pushes up and down, that is because somebody like me is sitting in front of a computer saying buy or saying sell, and that pushes the line up and down. Then other traders all throughout the world are reacting to the price movement. So some will find that price a fair price and they will buy it. Some will see that it is too high and they will sell it. But it's this constant pushing back and forth of human beings built on fear and greed. So people get greedy or they get fearful, Greed buys, fear sells. How Fibonacci plays into this in the simplest way possible, because it is actually super complex. Yes, Ghost. Absolutely, I am. Yes. How this works, though, is this is a Fibonacci retracement tool. So I personally trade this way. I use Fibonacci to enter and exit most of my trades. So what we do here is from a market low, so the price came down, right, and it bottomed. This is a bottom. From the bottom, you come up to a new high where the price tops out. You will pull this tool right here from the bottom to the top, and 70% or more of the time, what ends up happening is the price will then come down and bounce right off of the 0.618. That's this right here, which is just proof of human behavior adapting to this. So you have people who have no idea they're trading off of the Fibonacci levels, and then you have people like me who specifically trade off of the Fibonacci levels. The reason we do that, though, is because they're so commonly held. So I can tell as a trader, if I'm in this, it's very likely that price is going to come down to this level where I can buy, and then it's going to bounce. Therefore, I make money. So I trade Fibonacci levels. Hundreds of millions of people all over trade it, whether they know it or not. Same thing right here. You have another example. Price comes up, price drops down right to the 0.618. You bounce, right? So money to be made. Next, just to give you more examples, that was a cryptocurrency, right? So very different group of people than like traditional finance. It just shows human behavior is human behavior, period. This is silver. So now we're talking commodities, right? But it's no different. It's no different. So over here, and this is over years. These are not small little intraday trades. This is a very long period of time. Price comes up. It tops out where? Wow, at the 0.618. Then it comes down, and then it hits that peak. Same thing here. You've got a low, you've got a high, and then it bounced at the 0.618. You could be shown this all day long. This is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Same thing. Market bottoms. I'm sorry. You're starting from right here. You're going to come up. You're going to hit a bottom. The bottom just so happens to be exactly 1.618. And then it continues to go up. Here, same thing. Market top, market bottom, comes back up, bounces off the 0.618, and then drops. You guys get the picture. You can do this all day long. The spider, same thing. 0.618. So it literally happens constantly. Constantly. This shows what? This shows that our whole lives, to one degree or another, they function around this mathematical concept to different degrees. But human behavior and nature, which are two, I'd say, fairly separate things, both function off of this pattern a good amount. So what does that mean? Why? Does it matter? What's the purpose? How does that even happen? How is it that hundreds of millions of people, in the case of the stocks, right? How is it that hundreds of millions of people placing random orders all the time out of fear, out of greed, or people who are technical analysts and really know what they're doing when they're trading? You have this huge mixture of people, institutional money, banks, the New York Stock Exchange, and then a bunch of stupid idiots like me running around just trying to make money. And it still happens all the time. You still hit these levels all the time. Out in nature, we have new species of plants all the time. Yet, a lot of them still fit within the ratio. One of the biggest theories of this is how we get the concept of Fibonacci sequence, or Fibonacci, the ratio, or the golden ratio. Any of this is that this is how God built the world. Is that the mathematical process that is the Fibonacci sequence or theory or whatever you want to call it, the concept, is the way that God essentially built Earth. It's the way that God built creation as a whole, because it can't just be the natural world outside of humanity, because humanity is tied into this as well. There's a lot of questions around that. and questions that I don't have any answers to. I know that it works. I know that it exists. I know that these methods ring true, and I know that they're consistent. They're reliable. I literally bet on it, and I'm very successful with it. And that doesn't have to do with me. It has to do with the math works. The math works. Why is that? Do any of you guys know anything about Fibonacci? Is there anything that one of you knows that I did not cover? Or does anybody want to come on and talk? I find Fibonacci to be one of the most interesting things I've probably ever learned in my entire life. Nope, 8s, 9s, 11s, and even 12s and 7s replace 10. Where did that come from? Was that a response to something? Behavioral somatics. Ghost, do you care to come on and talk about it? Or are you just throwing it out? Bald Spiral could be a cool band name. Where did Bald Spiral come from? Joe's giving away his secrets. It's not a secret. And honestly, the more people that know, the more people are gonna do the same thing, and it makes it more reliable. So please go ahead and take the secrets. You just make me more money. I thank you in advance. Tree branches, yes. The rings, no. Rings tell us the age. Yeah, but the rings can still fit the spiral, though. They can still fit the spiral. The Devo tails into my theory about free will and predestination. What? All right, Ghost, you have to come on. If this goes into free will and predestination, we have to hear it. You're required. Come. You don't have to, but I hope that you do. I'm interested to see how you're going to tie those things together. Since you mentioned the pyramids, is this sequence also used in architecture? Yes, it's used in architecture all the time. So if you actually sat down and spoke with an architect, they can show you it. Absolutely. So that was one of the things I was looking at. I didn't think you guys would think it was that interesting. Now I regret it. But yes, absolutely. A lot of buildings are built based off of the sequence. You'll find the pattern within the building schematics. Don't say something like that and then not say anything. Yeah, Ghost, come on, man. Blissmol. Art also. A lot of famous artists have, and again, like whether they realize it or not, I'm sure some did, I'm sure some don't, but it ends up working its way, either voluntarily or involuntarily, into a lot of their art. Is one of the concepts within Fibonacci will show up in a lot of these famous artists' pieces, which is wild. There's a continuity. There's for sure a continuity. All right, Ghost, if you're down to come on. I just opened it up there. So I'm in the voice chat, and it's all turned on, so you can just bounce in whenever you're ready. Thank you so much. This is the first time here about Fibonacci. Yeah, it's really interesting, man. If you've ever heard the arguments from atheists about how everything is random, and you've been like, no, it's not random, but you have a hard time being like, well, this is why it's not random. Fibonacci is one of these really good, if you can at least get a somewhat firm grasp on how it works, what it is, where we see it, how it functions, then it's a good response to that. It's really hard to say that the Fibonacci, the way that it shows up in the natural world and in humanity, both physically and behaviorally, it's really hard to explain that away or say that that's an accident. It seems really ignorant to try to do so. It's too intricate. It's too perfect. It aligns too much. It covers too many different things. It's just really hard to do. It's one of these stances that you have as a religious person. Doesn't even really matter what religion you are, but just at the concept that there is something greater than us that created us. It doesn't need to be the Christian God. It doesn't need to be. Just that there is some kind of intelligent designer behind what is going on, behind what was created here. It was built intelligently. It's a given. It's very obvious. We can see it. We just saw it. It's a good leg to stand on when having those kinds of discussions with people who are challenging the idea of design, the idea of intelligent design. I hate to admit out loud, but the only time I have heard of it was watching the Da Vinci Code Don't judge me. See, I haven't seen that, and I haven't read the book, so I'm not sure. Do they talk about Fibonacci sequence? If they do, maybe I should watch it. I was always told it was a boring movie and a boring book, so I avoided it. Cody, it's good to see you, man. It's been a while, Cody. It's been a while. All right, Ghost is on his way in, so Ghost, take your time, man. No rush. No rush. Toroidal system. Can confirm my stock trading account size matches the Fibonacci spiral. Oh my god. Same here. Kind of ironic. Yeah, I guess, sir, right? Arithmetics. The golden ratio is anarithmetic. If it was math, it wouldn't make sense. Well, I mean, technically it is math. It's not like standardized math, but I mean, it's mathematics. The way it functions is mathematics. The sum of the two previous numbers. Hey, love. Hey, love. Yes, just a little. I thought it was entertaining, though. Teal, is it worth watching? You know how busy I am. Is it worth watching? I'll take your word for it. If it's worth watching, I'll watch it. And if it touches on that, I mean, I'd probably be interested. And I'm sure I can find the part where they talk about it. Yeah, Gordon, I understand that. But creating the sum of numbers still falls under mathematics. If you want to get semantic about it, that's fine. But it's mathematics. I don't think it talks about it enough for you to learn about it. So for you, it would probably be a waste of time. Fair enough. I only read the book, and it was before I came to Jesus, but I can tell you Dan Brown made a lot of atheist armchair experts. Yeah. That makes sense. Realistic statement, complex and ungraspable. It doesn't have to be a Christian God. Is that ungraspable? Is that something I shouldn't have said? It just doesn't, man. It just doesn't. That's the reality. To me, that is a reality. That is my reality. I should say that. It's worth it. Huge conspiracy behind it as well. See, that's all I've ever heard of, man. I've heard about the conspiracies behind the Da Vinci Code. But about the movie itself, I've only heard negative things. But if you're saying it's worth it for the conspiracy bit, I'll watch it. Between you and Teal, kind of, at least Teal halfway recommending it, I'll watch it. I'd be interested. It really is interesting to see the religious aspects that are brought up. Do they harp on religion? Like, is it totally negative towards religious thought and idea? The movie was not good. The book was great. Yeah, I'm definitely a book person, so I'll probably just get it on audio and check it out that way. TikTok, go to YouTube. She is so beautiful. Who is she? Is there someone in the movie? Mikhail, I'd say it's a strong argument, at least for an intelligent creator. Yeah, that's the point, Danny. That's my whole thing. I don't think it's a strong argument for the Christian God, but I don't think it's a strong argument for any God. I think it's a strong argument for intelligent design. And where you take the intelligent design, I think that's on you. That's on you at a personal level to kind of get where you get. But the idea of an intelligent designer, I think, is obvious there. All right, Ghostgate is here. So, Ghost, whenever you're ready, you can unmute.
Yeah, I'm here.
There he is.
Hey, chat. Hey, Joe.
Hey, man. So you got to tell me, what's the deal? How do you tie that in?
So what did I say? I can't even remember what I said anymore.
I think you said something like this. You have a way of tying this into predestination and free will.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll preface, like I always do, this is just my ideas, so don't get mad. Excuse me, I just ate. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So predestination, I think that people think of that word in the wrong way. I think they think it means God is like a ventriloquist and we're like the puppets and he's just moving things around. I don't think it means that. I think predestination means if you drop an apple, it will fall to the ground. That is the way God has predestined the laws to operate. And I think things like the Fibonacci sequence, Benford's law, Galton boards, things like that, prove that there is a sort of predestination or predeterminism if you do X, Y, or Z.
Sure.
So I think that's what the 10 Commandments are for, in the sense that if you do these things, then you will have a positive result. The more you don't do these things, the more you will have a negative result. So I guess that's how I see predeterminism versus free will. I don't think they're opposites. I think they're not even the same thing. I think they're related, but if you can see how I just explained it, it's like you can still have free will and choose to drop an apple and it will fall to the ground. You can't choose for that apple to fly away. So as far as like Calvinism goes, I think they're just looking at it completely wrong. I don't know what chat. I can't see chat right now, so I don't know what anyone's saying. Probably saying I'm crazy.
No, nothing yet. Nothing negative. No, I don't. So,
Okay.
So tie that into the elect. The idea of the elect.
Okay. So Benford's law. There's always going to be a minority of 8s and 9s, for example, because that's just the way the law works.
Yeah.
So there will always be a minority of elect because that's the way it works. Now, the intricacies of how that works, like, I have no idea, but we know that it does work. So I don't know. I've thought of that a lot. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
So, I mean, dumb it down a bit, and I guess, just so I have a grip on kind of where you sit. Do you believe certain people are meant to be Christian by God, and that the human as an individual has no ability to have any say in that?
So I suppose I can boil it down like this. It's about ratios and percentages.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you are creating anything, there's always going to be a ratio of waste that you're just going to have to, like if you're a woodworker and you're whittling whatever, there's a ratio of that wood that's going to be wasted or used for something else.
Yeah.
Or metallurgy or just anything. And I think that's the way we are, because we're a crop, at least the way the Bible explains us. There's always going to be a percentage of crops that fail, depending on the conditions. And I think the conditions tie into like the law, or like you could say the 10 Commandments. If you do these things, then you will have the best results. And I think everything has a law like that, where if you plant this way and the weather is like this and everything is according to these conditions, then your crop will yield X amount of percent of good crop versus bad crop. And I think people are like that. So I think there is a percentage of elect that's not necessarily determining which individual will be elect, but there can't be more than an X amount of ratio.
Sure.
It would seem.
So you think God chooses them, though? So say you and me, for example. Does God choose for one of us to be elect? Does he elect us? And the other one, he full well could, and chooses not to.
I think God chooses the percentage. I don't think he chooses the individual, but I could be wrong about that, because who knows how God works? You know what I mean? So
I mean, why would you I don't disagree. Why would you think that, though? So going off, if it's a percentage, say it's 30% of all humanity is the elect, but he leaves it open to kind of like basically probability of variables and ratio. Why? Like, why create to allow damnation?
Because I think damnation is part of this system, part of the way things work in this universe. I think when we mull over ideas, we throw away a certain percentage because we're like, nah, maybe that doesn't make sense, or for whatever reason. I think there's always going to be this give and take of completed product versus waste product. And I don't know of anything that doesn't follow that rule. If somebody can think of something, that would be great, because I like to try to disprove my theories. But I think everything involves finished product, waste product. Why it's that way? I mean, I guess we can ask God when we croak or something, because I don't know.
So I'm a contractor. So from that angle, I obviously fully get it. Anytime we're working a big project, we're buying flooring. There's, as you said, there's waste. Roofing, there's waste. Like you account for the waste, but that's because,
Right.
to some degree, we don't have infinite control, right? Like I can't go to a roof, scale the roof, and be like, boom, roof's on, zero waste. God technically, like theologically, could. So that means it's a choice that he made either in the beginning or makes it perpetually concurrently that allows waste. And I guess that the theological conundrum is why. And I know you're kind of saying like you don't really know, but
I mean, I can speculate. So the contraction, the Sim concept, that is a filtration system. God is filtering into the universe, and every time you have a filtration system, you're going to have waste. Something left over is being filtered out to purify something else. I mean, it seems to just be part of it, and so in that sense, yeah, I think the ratios are predetermined. There might be some wiggle room, but see, if people are unaware of the ratios, it's kind of like a double-blind study. You know what I mean? Like if you tell someone they're in a study, it's going to ruin the results.
yeah.
So for the people who want to know, who want to seek after God, what makes them want that? I don't know. What makes people different? That's the biggest question in the world.
So here's a or were you finished? Sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah. You throw something out.
Yeah, you got a question here. So Rodriguez says, why a percentage? Like you think God is running out of room up there? Not enough real estate?
No, it doesn't have anything to do with room. I think it has something to do with filtration. I think it's a spiritual thing. He's filtering people out because I think this whole existence is like a job interview. He's trying to find the next batch of elect, the next batch of the good crop, so that we can spread and it continues and continues. I think God recycles the waste. I don't think God, I think because we know that you can't destroy matter, it just converts back to energy, etc.
Yeah.
So in some way it's recycled, but it's a spiritual recycling. It's not really, it's because we're thinking in terms of physical, and there is a correlation between spiritual and physical. So the law of correspondence, we're getting in all these laws. You're familiar with the Galton board, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So every time, man, you flip it upside down every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's like that. But it's like, why? I don't know. I mean, it just seems to be part of, obviously the answer is because that's the way God wanted to do it. And then the next question is, well, why did he want to do it that way instead of another way? And then I can ask, well, okay, what is the other way? How would you do it?
So doesn't that mean
if you mixed in free will?
Yeah,
you don't mix in free will, right? So
sure. To some degree, though, doesn't that mean that God is not perfect? If he's like, as you said, like a guy, if it's a job interview, if he's trying to kind of vet who are the elect, who's going to fit into whatever the plan is after the fact, doesn't that in some way, at least philosophically, if not theologically, kind of say that God is limited? Either his ability to know is limited, or his ability to direct in some kind of way would be limited.
I would say no, because he wants us to be able to remember our folly. So he wants to say, this is the way it's going to be, and this is the way it should be. Now go live your life.
Yeah.
And we go live our life, and then we make mistakes, and then we refer back to God's way, and then we're like, oh, wow, he was right. It's kind of a way to point back to him, so that we can have a realization, not for him. It's not him. Like, he knows. It's like a parent knows their kid's going to do X, Y, and Z throughout their life because they did it, and practically everyone does it. So
it's a choice. The example I always give whenever I talk about like free will is if I have like my cat, my spouse, if I have a spouse whom I love and I want to spend my life with, but she doesn't want to spend it with me, like, could I overpower her and keep her here? Probably. But is that fulfilling in any way? No. Am I going to
No.
build a fulfilling life out of that? Like, no. So very, very dumbed down. But is that kind of where you're sitting with that? Like,
Yes.
there needs to be choice.
It's a very good analogy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Without
then-
choice, you can't have love. And if God
Exactly.
is love, therefore, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. All right. So then, let me see. Rodriguez there. All right. Mystic said, with the idea that there's always waste product, how does that make people more important than trash on the street?
I would have, maybe she could rephrase try to interpret, I guess.
Mystic, try to rephrase it. I think she's got another one here, so let me get to that too.
Okay.
So Rodriguez did say though, so in essence, God makes waste.
I don't know if it's makes. God made the system to where waste is possible, because that is the only way to refine. We have to be, okay, we're not God. God wants to make beings like him. The only way to do that is to start from a base material and refine it.
Yeah.
All refining requires waste.
Yeah.
And that goes for physical and spiritual. I mean, don't everyone know someone who has wasted their life in some way?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's spiritual waste. But I think those people are recycled, because this gets into like, what is a person and what is personality and
Yeah.
what is being recycled, and this can go on for hours. So
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure. I agree. All right. One Dumbcast said, one problem I have is, to my knowledge, I was not given a choice as to whether I wanted to be born, but I popped out and automatically at risk of being sent to hell. How this is fair baffles me. I'll give a very plain answer, because I feel like we've kind of already answered it. I mean, you have the free will, right? So the again, super dumbed down version of it is the idea from a Christian perspective, again, Dumbcat, only from a very standard Christian perspective, is that God makes himself known to people. How that happens, I think, happens in a million different ways, whether it's with the Bible or it has absolutely nothing to do with the freaking Bible. He makes himself known to people, and then they have a choice. So you're at risk, but the idea from a Christian perspective, again, is that in some way he will make himself known to you. You will have whatever it is that is adequate for you to make that decision. So the risk it's a controllable risk. It's something that you have, at least to some degree, some control over. But the Christians will tell you have absolute control over it. He'll make himself blatantly aware to you, and whether you kind of take him up on the offer or not is kind of what's up to you. What do you think, Ghost?
I don't think God makes himself blatantly aware, or I think, you know, some tribesman in Papua New Guinea somewhere who's never even heard of Jesus, like, God didn't make himself blatantly aware to them, at least in the sense of how we're talking about God.
Well, not in Jesus, right?
Right. But for them, they might have concepts like Benford's Law or like the Fibonacci Sequence. They might call it something different.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
I can't remember what it was. Mikkel might remember, but we had one of these conversations it was only a couple weeks ago, I think, but we talked about that exactly. And I talked about kind of the tribes way out there. I don't think they know Jesus. I don't think they know the stories of the Bible. Maybe they never even heard of the Bible. But I still think God somehow, as you just said, I think there are other ways of getting God across to people. And that's where you'll lose like mainstream Christians. Like, no, if it's not the Bible, if it's not Jesus Christ by name, then you're screwed. And I get why from like a mainstream Christian perspective. I totally understand why. But the reality is that there are people in remote places who are never going to see a Bible. That's a reality of life. So then how do you reconcile that? And I think I personally see it kind of how you just explained. I think it's going to come out somehow. It might not be in name. It might not be in scripture. They might never know those things exist. But I think depending on where the people are at, both geographically, but also just internally, I think God makes himself known in some kind of way. It just might be totally different than what, the mainstream or what first world might kind of consider as the norm.
And I think Dumbcat touched on something very important. He brought up the word The naughty word. What is hell?
Yeah.
This is the big question that a lot of Christians just don't understand. And it's really unfortunate because so much hinges on you're going to hell. Like that'll turn away thinking type people and just say, this is all BS. I don't want anything to do with this. And I am of the opinion that we are in hell currently, right now. This is hell. This is the refinement process. This is the furnace, the kiln, whatever you want to call it. This is it. Hell.
Uh-oh.
Did you just lose?
Yeah, we did. You're good now. You seem to be good now.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can't remember. I'll say hell is the refinement process. This is where we are.
Mm-hmm.
The Catholics came up with purgatory because they understood that there had to be some kind of thing that does that function, and this is it. It's not after we die, it's now. Unless we already died and we were somewhere else and now we're here, but like, that gets into all kinds of theories and whatever. But sorry, I rambled.
No.
So don't look at I know what I was gonna say. Revelation. The hellfire, that's obliteration. You're done. That's I don't think we're not gonna be in a place being tortured by some cartoon. The guy who made galaxies and the universe and love and everything, he's not a petty, vindictive guy who's just gonna torture you forever. That's the most absurd idea, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think too many Christians worship a cartoon, and I think it's probably a majority, and it sucks because it's hard to have like a meaningful conversation if you can't even agree on the basics.
Yes.
So, and the only way around that is just to have long conversations with people and be equipped on how to talk about these things. And even so, even if you are, some people won't respond to it. And those people are the ones and twos in Benford's Law. Fine, let them be. Those are the majority of people. Fine. That's what I mean when I say ones and twos on the curve.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I
what do we do about it? I don't think we can do anything about it. Just like we can't do anything about Benford's Law.
You don't think we can do anything about people being, I guess, believing things the way they believe them? Kind of like the standard Christian view?
Yeah, we can persuade people.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think the persuasion can only... So if you're a 4 on Benford's Law, you might be able to be persuaded up to a 3 or 2 or a 5 or 6, maybe. This is just a wild speculation. There's some elasticity to it, but I don't know what it is. And I don't know if it's the same for every human. Like, who knows?
Yeah, sure. No,
but some people are way more rigid than others.
Oh, absolutely. How much of that, just out of curiosity, how much of that do you think has to do with intellect? And how much of it do you think has to do with like direct spirituality? And I struggle even asking that because I personally think the two are pretty closely correlated, if not completely intertwined. But I guess, what do you think about that?
I would say the intellect is the capacity of the jar, and the spirituality is how much water is in it.
It's a good way to put it.
So you can have someone who's really dumb, a thimble, but it could be all the way full, so it's 100% full.
But
or you could have someone with... Go ahead.
Do you think that's out of...
finish it out.
Is it out of ignorance? So if somebody lacks intellect, like I would venture to say what we're discussing right now is very much above the average person's conversation. I think I would even say like, and maybe I have no idea, but maybe I'm totally wrong. But I'd say even like the average person goes through their whole life maybe without having conversations like we have here. And again, that could totally be just anecdotal because I don't keep friends. I don't talk to people like much outside of settings like this. But if that's true, that the normal person, the average person never has conversations to depth like this or in depth like this and has low intellect, wouldn't the capacity for spiritual understanding be more out of ignorance. And when I say that, I guess I'm thinking of like your standard Christian who goes to church and, you know, they think they're spiritual. They're going through the motions. They believe in God as much as they can comprehend it. But if they don't actually understand it, do they actually believe it? Are they actually spiritual? Can you be spiritual if you don't understand what that means? Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But, well, for me, I mean, Mikkel knows this. He knows my definitions. Spiritual just means ideological, or it can mean that. It doesn't only mean that. So you can program anyone's mind with practically any ideology,
Sure.
and they'll believe it.
Yeah.
Now, it might not be consistent with reality, but if you get them programmed for long enough and cleverly enough, they're going to believe it because they're going to associate their beliefs with the phenomena that they experience in the outside world. So, for example, like, you know, if lightning strikes a tree and someone makes a religion that says when that happens, well, it means X, Y, or Z. Whenever someone sees that, they're going to associate it with what they were told it means.
Yeah.
So the key is to just spread the truth. But I mean, like, I can easily say that, but it's like everyone thinks they have it.
Yeah. That's the problem. Yep.
Right. And that's why missionary work is important. However, you have to be sure that it's the right information or the right spirit. And too often it's not. So this is a struggle. This is an experiment of battling spirits or battling ideologies.
But so I guess I completely agree. But how could you ever know that? With the missionary, how could you ever know that anybody is pushing the right message? Like there's no way to actually validate that, right?
Right, because we're subjective beings, right?
Yeah, exactly.
How to validate?
You can.
I mean, I use Jesus as a spiritual ruler, but like, right, for someone who doesn't know anything about him, like, yeah, they're not going to have that measurement.
But even that, man, and I'll use myself as an example, is I went through all the motions, man. Like I grew up in the Catholic Church and then I turned away from it. I did the whole atheist thing for a while. I went way beyond that, and then I came around, went to seminary, did the whole 9, and all it did was pull me further and further away from these religious concepts. And it was primarily because the deeper I got into it, the more I realized there's no effing way to validate any of this. There's no, and it was more than that. It was mostly arrogance that made me leave organized religion and seminary and everything like that. But it was this realization that I eventually came to, that I know mostly what I believe, but the more I learn, the more I realize the less I know. So then at the same time, I'm dealing with all of these mainstream Christians working in church and doing the things I was doing as a pastor. And I realized there's no way to validate any of it, Jesus included. I mean, and it's
okay. Yeah, I'll tell you, I think you had bad teachers. And I think everyone has. I mean, most teachers are bad. That's why good teachers are valuable.
What does that have to do with anything, though?
I think people didn't explain things the right way to you, and not even just you. Like most people who have that kind of like angsty atheism phase, which I did too. Well, I never went that far, but I was agnostic. I think it's just because they don't have good teachers and they ask really poignant, good questions, but the people that they're asking just don't know how to answer them, and that puts them down a path. It's momentum that takes them down a path of, okay, I'm going to find my own answers. And
well, so you're definitely right. You're definitely right. And I've talked massive garbage about the seminary professors I had, both undergrad and grad, but it's even all that aside, once I'm out of seminary, no teachers, just doing kind of my own thing. you still can't verify Jesus, I guess is my point, because I'm piggybacking off of your comment about Jesus as the ruler.
Oh, I see.
You gotta,
Yeah.
Otherwise, I totally agree, 100%. I had horrible teachers, and the reason I ended up leaving my master's program is because of exactly what you said, where I'd ask pointed questions and I'd get just absolute shit answers, and I eventually just I could not deal with it. But going back, Jesus is the ruler. I agree. I'm on the same page. But when it comes to verification, you just can't have it, right?
Okay, so you know how we, for online passwords, etc., we have two-step verification usually.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jesus has hundreds of steps. Like you got to go through the ringer to verify, and then once you get through that ringer, you're like, okay, it makes sense now. But that's a lot of work, man. And people have jobs, they have a life, they have their own wills and desires, and they're not going to get past several steps usually of verification. So
yeah, sure.
They want one-step verification. They want God to come knock on their door and say, yo, I'm God. But that doesn't work, because if that were the case, they'd be like, okay, prove it. And then he'd, fly around or something. And then be like, oh, crap, I better worship you out of fear now, because that's crazy.
Yeah.
So he has to remain somewhat hidden, and he has to drop little clues. I don't know if you're familiar with Cicada 3301.
No, actually.
But write that down and look into that. That's how I think it works.
Cicada 301.
That's 3301.
3301.
And that's a whole rabbit hole. So everyone can write that down and look into it on their own time. That's how I think the Bible works. That's how I think missionary, all of it. It's dropping clues to see who can pick it up and who can't. And that's the natural filtration process I was talking about. That's, my understanding, my opinion on it.
Interesting. Okay. All right, let me see.
And I don't think I have time to get into the Cicada 3301, but I could, I guess, if you want to talk about it.
Well, so would that be something that you think we could do a full hour on? It sounds like we could do 1,000 hours.
Oh, yeah. I would say just put it in the box and save it.
Yep, I'll put it on the list. All right, we've got I tried to start saving some questions because they began to stack up here. So Mystic, and I think some of them we probably answered in a quick. Mystic said, wouldn't that mean that people would no longer exist if they were waste after they die? Why would they be punished for God not wanting to use them when they didn't choose to be born? What do you think about that?
Well, this gets into what is the definition of a person. If someone decides with their own free will that they don't care or want to know about God, etc., then they're not really losing anything. It's like, if you don't know about something and then you don't experience, did you lose anything?
Yeah.
Or if you do know something and you have a negative opinion about it and then you don't get to experience it, did you lose something? No. I mean, it's about what do you want? What do you want?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think people, I don't want to make any assumptions about people, but like we were just talking about, people grow up, they have these good questions, they can't get answers, and they're like, screw this, it's fake.
Yeah.
Which I totally get.
Oh, for sure. Without a doubt.
No,
I agree.
So it's not that the people will be wasted, it's that they kind of put themselves into that category bracket of Benford's Law, where they just made that choice. I don't care about this. It's garbage. It's stupid. Okay, fine. You're not missing out then.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But a part of their spirit tells them that they might be, and they want to be sure.
Yeah, I believe that.
And I get that.
No, I believe that.
So let that part come forth and be prominent in your life, and go look and go see.
That should be the driving factor right there for sure. Kat said, so then thoughts on reincarnation or past live theories?
Oh, we got to do that whole episode on that.
It's on the it's on the list. It's on the list. So unless you can sum up something real quick, we'll skip it for now, and Kat will just have to wait.
Okay. The Eastern concept of reincarnation is every person gets reincarnated per death.
Yeah.
I think the actual reincarnation is per cycle, and I think the cycles last 7,000 years.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you live, you die. When you die, you get stored somewhere, Sheol, whatever, Abraham's bosom, someplace, some hard drive somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of that cycle, you get reincarnated and then separated. Or I think you get separated when you're being stored. And then the people who are separated into the partition that goes to waste, they get reincarnated at the end of the millennium, so to speak, taking the biblical view. And this is just from the biblical view. Like, I don't know how to frame this in a non-biblical view. It could be true that something else happens that I'm completely unaware of. Like,
Yeah, sure.
But from the biblical view, it would seem reincarnation happens once every 6,000 to 7,000 years, because there's two resurrections. There's the saints, then you live for 1,000 years with Jesus, whatever that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, the bad guys, or I don't even want to call them bad guys, just the non-saints, they get resurrected, and it's like a secondary filtration where I think some of those people will have a chance to repent, or they all will, and then some will decide to and some won't. And I think that's where the final battle comes from, where, you know, they say Satan's let out for a short time, whatever that means.
Yeah.
It's like when you filter something, you get the cream of the crop, and then you can filter it again and get a little bit more. I think it's like that.
I mean, it's an interesting way to put it, for sure.
But I don't know.
I'm trying to stop. Yeah, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna write a few notes so that we can get into that deeper at another
I could
time.
do a whole one on that for sure.
Yeah, that can go on forever, man. Yeah, without a doubt. Okay, all right, then we'll move on. All right, then, okay, Mikkel threw a few out, and I'm sure he's eager. So I'm going to smash 3 different comments together that he had for you.
Uh-oh.
What is the purpose of filters? Are they necessary for all around well-being? How do filters function? The process, intake, outtake, what comes in, what comes out? And are we ourselves a filtration system? And I can repeat any of that you need.
Yeah, we're a filtration system, but so is everything in the universe.
Yeah.
It's Russian dolls of filtration. Shoot, yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
Rephrase that a little bit.
What are they necessary for all around well-being? That's it. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
For sure. And then
okay. Your front door to your house is a filter.
Yeah.
You don't want everyone coming in. So filters are necessary in this reality, physically and spiritually. You don't want to look at every possible thing you could ever see, because that'll damage you. Like,
yeah,
it'll stick with you, etc.
Oh God, yeah.
So filters are necessary. Borders are necessary, etc. The borders are definitions. It's the reason that the word "the" is not the word "and," because there's a border between letters and meanings, and so yes.
And then, how do filters function? I think that's pretty open-ended. You would need more of a specific question, no?
Well, everything is somewhat a filter, so they all function in the sense. Spiritual filters function by basically choice. You're choosing what to filter out of your life and what to bring into your life. And what determines what is good or bad, I would say, is the 10 Commandments or intuition, maybe. Like, I don't know.
What do you say?
Physical filters are easier to understand.
Yeah, for sure. But wouldn't you say that maybe like a standard concept of a filter is basically just allowance and denial?
Yes.
What's allowed, what's denied?
Yeah, in, out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I totally agree. I think the physical is a lot easier, and for obvious freaking reasons. But
that's the thing, though. The law of correspondence would suggest that for every physical phenomena, there's a spiritual analog.
Yeah, behind it. For sure.
So there's going to be spiritual charcoal, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's going to be an ideological thing. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. See, if this is hell, then where is paradise? That was Goddess Lily.
Paradise is where we go when we die. It's the hard drive I was speaking of that saves us. That I always make that joke. Jesus literally saves. He
Yeah.
backs up everyone.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I love the hardware references as a computer guy. And then I want to add on to that. So I have similar beliefs as you about hell. Christianity obviously does not. Why do you think there is such a wide disconnect between what seems to be blaringly obvious if you really get into the concept of hell and what has been mass adopted and perpetuated?
Ego and momentum. So some guy got a bad idea X amount of years ago, decided to run with it, and it's just the momentum of it. You spread it, and then that's what it is, man. It's ideological war, spiritual war. So, and you know, egotistical people, they can't correct themselves. So like, if someone proves to them that their idea was flawed in some way, they're going to hold on to it no matter what and keep teaching it, because to not do that they would have to admit they were wrong, and a lot of people can't do that.
Oh my God, yeah. It's like one of the biggest flaws of mankind.
That's why modern versions of hell are so cartoonish, because, you know, it might have started one way, you know, the game of telephone, and then it just gets absurd after a while.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Danny threw out some freaking heat, but I'm gonna go in order. All right, so Dumb Cat said, why does heaven have gates where people outside will weep and gnash their teeth?
Yeah, spirits don't weep and gnash teeth, so there you go. Heaven is wherever God is. So that could be a physical place or it could be a spiritual place. I think it's both. So I think we can't escape both. Everything is both.
Yeah, no, I agree. So things like that you interpret as illustration.
Yeah, right, because it's like if you go your whole life not believing something and then it's revealed to you that it's true and you're like, oh crap, this has implications. Oh no, what have I done? It's gonna suck, man.
Yeah.
But those people will have the ability to repent after seeing it, but they will not be the elect because they didn't get in on the ground floor, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they will have a choice to repent at the second resurrection.
Yeah, no, agreed.
So
agreed.
That's the way I see it.
All right, and then Mystic's got one here. This was not directed at us, but I do want to read it because I find it very interesting. So Mystic, apologize if that upsets you. But she said, I don't think that sin or bad quality of life we have on Earth is because of Adam and Eve, but just a side effect of our now finite existence. Like we are completely different beings than who they were in the garden. If assuming Genesis is to be taken literally, yada, yada, yada. Are we though? What do you think? Are we different? Now, again, agree with what Mystic said. I don't take Genesis literally at all. So I'm outside of that camp. But assuming that Genesis was literal and Adam and Eve were literal human beings, are we different from them?
Well, what we do know about Genesis, I think it's a metaphor as well. But we know that our nature changed in some way. Mm-hmm. We went from base material into a filtration process. And so, you know, I've often wondered, are we all just Adam sleeping somewhere in prison? This is his rehabilitation.
Yeah.
And we're all just going to die and wake up and we're like, oh, crap, we're Adam. And I remember everyone's thoughts and memories from billions of people. This is trippy.
I like that.
It's crazy. It's a crazy thought, but
I like that.
I think there has to be a central mind in some way. So that could be true, but you know, it's not biblical. It's not explicitly told that way.
Yeah.
But you know, it could be true. I don't know. There seems to be when people, you know, drop acid or do psychedelics or have near-death experiences, they have a very oneness kind of thing. Like, we're all one, man. Like,
yes,
that is so common that there has to be a reason for that. So I suppose we started off as base material, whatever that means, and now we're being filtered, and the good stuff's going to get left over. And but that's kind of the way life is too. Like, think about each and every one of our lives. We start off as a kid, and then we grow up, and all these ideas are filtering into our minds, and we we hold on to the good and get rid of the bad, hopefully. And that's what it is on our level. But I think on a higher level, there's a similar process going on. It's a mystery to me, but I feel like it has to be like that, because as above, so below.
Yeah. That's
You know,
funny. That's fine. All right,
correspondence.
Yes. Mikkel said, God most definitely made contact with tribes, ancient civilizations. There's the Fibonacci sequence. His fingerprint signaling is unambiguous. Unequicious through all. I grabbed the wrong comment. Sorry, Mikkel, I got your other one here. Hold up. All right, he said, here's a thought. Is there really anything in nature that we can say goes to waste? Let's even consider it man-made, quote-unquote, stuff created with natural raw materials. So he's arguing that things in nature do not go to waste. Would you argue back?
No, I understand what he means. That's what I'm saying. God recycles, yo.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't, like, we can see it as waste, but like even our wood shavings, like if you're whittling something and you have wood shavings left over, those can be used for something else. They're not going to be the centerpiece of whatever you made, but they can be used for something. Like I said, the elect are set apart. They're holy ones. That's what holy means.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean everyone else just, you're done, you're erased. It just means you're in a different class. I think heaven has hierarchy, but I think the hierarchy is merit-based. In life, if you decided to not care about this stuff, then, and you can argue, oh, it's because I didn't have good teachers.
Yeah.
And I would agree to an extent. Yeah, you could go down a path, oh, I didn't have good teachers, I'm just going to be self-destructive now.
Yeah.
But this goes back to the ratio. Like, there's going to be a certain percentage. I don't know why, but I know that it has to be that way because that's what we see. But I don't know why exactly. Number one, well, I guess I kind of do. We're not God. We're not perfect. So the only way to be made like God, which apparently is what this whole thing is, like to be, a holy one,
Yeah.
is to start at the bottom and come up. Be filtered upward through trials and fire,
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered that. I just kind of started to ramble.
No, I get what you're saying. And personally, I'm pretty much with you on it. Yeah, it's tough. That one's tough.
It's tough. Yeah, I don't fully understand it.
No, and I don't think we will, man. I think it's just going to be us dying, still trying to talk about these things just in circles.
We'll die and be like, oh, crap, this is what it was.
Oh,
but now
sure.
We can't tell anyone about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what's going to happen. All right, Danny had some good stuff, man. He said, there's got to be a curve when it comes to what faith is, depending on the person. Christian faith falls apart if there is not. What do you think about that?
Yeah, there's a curve. It goes back to Benford's law. There's always a curve. There's always a spiral. God loves spirals.
Sure does. Everything.
So yeah, there's a curve. What was the way he phrased that?
Yeah, yeah. It said, there's got to be a curve when it comes to what faith is, depending on the person. So individuality. Christian faith falls apart without that.
Right. Faith is trust. How do you trust anyone? You have to kind of, feel them out. You have to live around them. You have to kind of live according to their ways, see how they behave. It's a process. It's not something that's instant. If it is something that's instant, then you're gullible, and you probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You have to kind of feel it out and live through it. And the more you start to see the patterns match, you can trust that person's character, that they aren't going to, rob you or etc.
Yeah.
And faith is no different. Like, do you trust God? Are you loyal to Jesus, etc., to that personality type? If you don't want to call him Jesus, whatever, that personality type, are you faithful to that? Do you agree with that thing?
Yeah.
If so, then, so that's my take on that.
Let me ask you something. You don't have to answer it, but I'm curious. So and maybe it's just because of what you said, but maybe that was truly directed at other people only. Do you think Jesus, as described in the Bible, was actually an individual physically in the way that we imagine individuals, sitting next to us?
Yeah. I think he was the myth that was true.
Okay. How'd you get there? Short version, but how'd you kind of get there?
Well, short version would be there's too many. It would be impossible to just start writing about a guy without there being some kind of paper trail, so to speak, if you're writing about him as a real guy. If you're writing about him as Spider-Man, then you wouldn't request a paper trail. But there's actually more paper trail for Jesus than there is for Alexander the Great. But nobody questions him.
Yes. Yep.
Or not just Alexander, like a ton of people. Like,
a lot.
They don't question that guy.
A lot of stuff.
And
that
I think that's
no
because Jesus claims to be God. So it's like, I get why they want to scrutinize him harder than Alexander. But
yeah, for sure. For sure.
But yeah, there's a paper trail. And I think he, this goes into the universe is God's brain theory. I think Jesus is the admin, and he's the only one who can do things that other people can't. So I think he had to show them physically these strange things so that they could remember it and write it down. It had to impact their life in such a way that they would die for it. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not dying for Spider-Man or any of the X-Men or any of that. So he couldn't have been a made-up character because people martyred themselves for it. Fairly close to the time he, walked the shores of Galilee, etc.
Yeah.
So I think he was a real guy. Yeah. Now that doesn't mean I don't know, man. I think he is God, so he can do things like. If we close our eyes and imagine, I brought this up before. If we imagine something in our head, we're doing it in our head, but we're not doing it here. But when God imagines something, it does happen. So if Jesus is God, he could do anything he wants because God's imagining it. Yeah. And I know that's way out there, trippy belief, etc. But no, that's what I believe.
I tend to agree, man. And with everything else you said too, I think that's I don't know how. With you being, relatively new, I don't know if you've heard, and I'll keep it short too, but I'm exactly right there with you. Is of all, at the very least, of all the prophets across, all beliefs, Jesus there's a good case for him, and from the martyrdom to the accounts, if you got to pick one, it's the one with the best backing. So it's the best bet. It's the best risk to reward ratio of being right or being wrong.
Right. There's certainly a paper trail, and he makes claims that no other one made, and So there's something to it, man. I wish we could go back and just observe all of it, but
yeah. It's an interesting headache, is what it is. All right, Mikhail said, go ahead. What you got?
No, I was just gonna agree with you.
Mikhail said, here's a thought. Is there really anything in nature that we can... Oh, I already read that. Sorry. Here's the other one.
Jesus is a hippie, so he recycles. There you go.
He was at Burning Man. He was one of the cars that got stuck in the mud. Danny said, if you have a Christian that can't understand theological elements that say we get into, how does Jesus gauge your heart? So Danny, that was kind of what I was pushing at Ghost about earlier, is can you be spiritually inclined? Can you have a grasp on that which is outside of our realm if you are, and I don't mean it rudely at all, genuinely, if you are intellectually lacking? Can one exist without the other? I have a hard time with it. It sounded like, and totally correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded like because of your belief of how much humanity and spirituality is intertwined, you can't really escape it. So you don't necessarily need the intellect to be spiritually in touch.
No, you don't. You can be a good person and be quite stupid.
Oh, for sure.
You can love your family. You don't have to be some kind of genius. Now, to understand the deeper aspects and software of reality, yeah. But I mean, you have computer engineers, and then you have people who just go on Chrome and browse, and
Yeah.
they're all computer related. But and I think ideology is spiritualism. So everyone has a belief. What resolution are those beliefs? That's the question. What capacity does that person have to really dig down? Because every belief has a degree, like degrees, like
Yeah.
you can believe something in a low resolution way or a high resolution way. But as long as you have like love, etc., like there's a verse in scripture, somebody can throw it out, I can't remember it. If you don't have love, you can be as wise and smart and etc., and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's 1 Corinthians 13, I think.
There you go.
Yeah,
so
which is beautiful. Yeah, it's a whole long thing about how you can be and you can have absolutely anything, but if you lack love, you are nothing. Paul said, "You're nothing. You have nothing."
That's the common denominator.
Yeah.
So you can be stupid and still love and have good intentions, and that's all that really matters. So God's not damning stupid people to hell. That's silly.
Yeah. Right,
I don't think anyone in the chat was saying that. I'm just saying, like, no.
No, yeah, I don't think so either. I don't think so. I think if anybody was, I kind of was, but hopefully everybody here knows me well enough to know that's not what I was saying. Maze said, if faith is mathematical, it kind of makes sense, since once you learn the formula, it never changes and God never changes.
Right. God hides his fingerprints, his ideology, his spirit.
Yeah.
And he has to hide it because that is just the way to filter people. Like, this goes back to the cicada 3301 thing. Everyone can't do everything. Hierarchies form naturally based on merit, based on intellect, based on a number of factors.
Yeah.
You can't not have hierarchy. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, no.
The problem is when people take hierarchies and turn them into toxic kind of control mechanisms.
Well, pride. Right? Usually pride.
Yeah.
At the very least kicks it off, but yeah.
You can't do that if you're humble and Christ-like. See?
Yeah. Yep.
So that's like the virus protection. Like, you have to have that, or else you're going to go into all kinds of dangerous territory.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think to go completely off topic, I think that's kind of what happened to the whole gender hierarchy or gender roles, or however the hell you want to put that.
Yeah.
And then beyond, for sure. But I think that's kind of what happened, is it became men being complete assholes. And, you can't blame women for being like, yeah, this wasn't the deal. This wasn't the way that this was intended to be.
Yeah, I mean, what do we know about the universe? There's duality. So that means there's going to be good hierarchies and bad hierarchies.
Yep. All right, let me see. I think, I think we're caught up. So do you have anything? As always, man, lovely. Great to talk to you. You add a hell of a lot that I just don't have. So thanks for coming on. You have anything else, man, that you want to throw out for this one?
I mean, honestly, going back to it, I really wanted to throw out the Benford's Law and Galton boards. So if everyone wants to look those up and mess around with those ideas on their own time.
Are you able to, when you hop off, can you throw that in just the off topic real quick? A couple links or something, or even just the names?
Yeah.
So people can go back to them.
Yeah.
I threw the Sierra 3301 out earlier, but if you want to throw that one in
Cicada.
too. Cicada, I'm sorry. Yeah, Cicada. It's SACATA, right? No, it's not.
It's
CICADA.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. Yeah, whatever you got. Any of those that you want to throw out, I'm sure I saw a few people as you were kind of talking that are interested. So I think that'd be great for them.
I'll post a couple links.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right, man. Well, yeah, if you have nothing else, we're going to wrap up.
Yeah, I'm going to get back to the fam. We were just hanging out, so.
Beautiful. Thanks. I appreciate you taking time away from them. Tell them thank you, okay?
Yeah, I think they might be watching. I don't know. But yeah.
Oh. Well, hey, fam. Thanks for letting us borrow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, always, man. I appreciate it. Well, have a good night.
I'll pop in next week or whatever.
Definitely, yeah.
All right. Yeah. Have a good night, y'all.
All right, man. You
Take it
too.
easy.
Have a good night. Everybody else, we're gonna wrap up. Any last minute things you guys want to throw out? Go ahead and throw it out. Otherwise, a couple things we need to discuss very quickly. Very quickly. I ran a poll in Discord for whether we should continue with Enoch or whether we should take a break. At least last I checked, it was overwhelmingly to take a break, which I totally understand and nobody should feel bad about. Enoch is a lot, man. It's very complex. It's very cryptic, if you want to use that word. It's difficult to read. It's difficult to understand. And honestly, if I was you guys listening and not actually reading, I'd have much harder of a time. So I'm totally sympathetic to it, and we're gonna take a break. So starting this Sunday, we're gonna bounce off of Enoch, and we're gonna head back into just traditional scripture. So those of you who traditional, but obviously I mean the canon. For those of you who were here before, you know how we do that. It's very different than how we run Enoch. When we go through the canon, I basically take you guys through seminary courses. We do full exegesis. So it's word for word, verse for verse, breaking down the geography, breaking down literally every possible thing that we can. I'll give you different beliefs from different scholars on different contextual understandings. It's a much more interactive Bible study. Enoch was really just me reading, because if we stop for a second, we'd never finish. With the canon, very different game. Very different game. So what I want to do though is I want to run a poll for you guys to decide where you want to go in the canon, whether Old Testament, New Testament, and then what specific text. So throw some out and I'll make a list, and then I'll run a poll in Discord and you guys can decide where you want to go. We've already done 1 Corinthians, Acts, and I think that's it. I'll double check though. I think so. We've gone through verse by verse, 1 Corinthians and Acts, which actually makes me kind of want to pull an executive decision and do 2 Corinthians. Let me just double check here. Yeah, so we did 1 Corinthians and Acts. Is anybody against us just jumping right into 2 Corinthians? Mikhail, Enoch should be read once a year. I agree. So I think that's what we'll do, is we'll do like a super hardcore session for a couple of months or maybe a month. Jump into Enoch, find a good stopping place, and then come back out. I mean, each one on their own. It's a great apocryphal book. Yeah, for sure. It totally is. It's really good. It's just people struggle with it. People who aren't like super into this stuff have a hard time with it. Rodriguez, shoot. No, honestly, total transparency, I totally forgot. So I'm going to leave a note for myself, and please forgive me. But I will try to get that for you. You want a concordance for Enoch. That's right. No, I failed you. I apologize. I will, I've got a note for myself. I'll try to take a look at that again and see what I can get you. Does anybody have a text that they are just dying to cover before something else? Otherwise, I think we'll probably start with 2 Corinthians, just because we already did first, then we did Acts. Now it just makes sense to go to 2 Corinthians. So I think we'll do that, and then maybe start totally fresh and go wherever you guys want to go. So unless y'all have a burning desire for a specific text, I think that's what we'll probably do just to start. Yeah, thank you, Rodriguez. It all just spins around up here and then gets flown out. I will find you one though. I will find you one. Because I know I have one somewhere. Or I know I have something at least that will give you what you need. So I got you. Otherwise, guys, we're going to wrap up. We're going to wrap it up. We'll figure out the Bible thing. I'll probably still post a poll in Discord for what we start on Sunday, just in case nobody wants to do 2 Corinthians. I don't want to force you guys to do something you don't want to do. But that is my push, is towards 2 Corinthians. We should bring Ghost on for a talk about the rapture. You know what we should also do is have some of the rest of you come on as well, like it used to be. So it's not just me talking, because I'm very salty and bitter at all of you for making me talk. And I'm very grateful that Ghostgate's willing to come on, because back in the day, I remember when we had 6-8 people on there talking. You remember those times, guys? You remember those times? It was a better time. And then you guys like to just sit here and make me talk, and it aggravates the hell out of me. Don't like it, guys. Don't like it. I'd rather y'all come back on. We had some real good discussions back in the day 3 months ago. Ghostgate is down for the rapture talk. All right, so the poll I'm going to post for next Thursday will include reincarnation. It will include the rapture, and then I'll try to file through the comments and include some of the other things that we've, touched on, but weren't able to dive super deep into. I'm down to talk. I just need to plan to in advance. Well, Mystic, just look at the poll. If it's something you're interested in, then plan for it. And that goes for anybody. Once the poll is done, you guys know what we're talking about. So if it's something you think you have input on, or you think you might have input once we get going, like tonight, a lot of you could have jumped on. You guys had great questions. Questions don't need to go through chat. You guys can come on, because then once we answer them, or once Ghost answers it, you can ask a follow-up if we didn't quite cover what you wanted covered. In the chat, you don't really have that, because once we cover it, we're moving on. But if you're in the voice, then we'll give you the opportunity to reply. So if you're satisfied with the answer, cool, let's all move on. And if you're not, you can ask a follow-up and get a deeper answer, which would probably help somebody else too, because I'm sure they have a similar question. So it's all a circle of everybody helping everybody. I remember those times. Yeah, me too, man. I miss it. I miss you guys. I miss the conversation. This turned into exactly what I said I didn't want it to turn into, which is the Joe Show. I'm really glad Ghost comes on now, because then it's not the Joe Show. But it was great when we had 6 people on there and just kind of took turns talking. That's the goal. So anybody who's willing to do that, is interested in doing that, come on. I know Rodriguez, you said you were cooking. I saw that comment earlier, and I was like, man, bummer, because I'm sure you would have cut in and you would have added something for sure. So that would have been cool. So hopefully next time you're more available. Jeremiah says he'll hop on next week. Good. I'm gonna hold you to it. We need to cover the many raptures some think will occur, like 7. Right? Yeah, man, they're endless. They're endless, man. All right, well, I'm gonna try to get the poll up tonight, because I always suck and I wait too long to do it. So I'm gonna try to get off right now and go put the poll up for you guys. Anything else? Goddess Lily, thank you. Thank you for being here. This was a good one. It's a good one. We covered Fibonacci, and then we covered all sorts of other stuff. It was very interesting stuff, man. Ghostgate is a wise dude. Shannon and I have been horribly sick this month. Yeah, man, I know. Oh, believe me, I know. I have been thinking about you guys. Kat and I have been talking about you guys. We miss y'all. Joe the Trader, good to know. Yeah, Mikkel, if you ever need investment advice, I will give you non-financial advice. Just kidding, YouTube. I don't give financial advice because I'm not a financial advisor. But hit me up, Mikkel. I got you. Wink, wink. Good night, fellow cultlings. I like that. Cultlings. It's like, never mind. Filter. Ghostgate says we're all filters, so I'm going to filter my speech right now. Rapture and did we do Revelation? I can't remember. You mean cover the text? Hermeneutics? Hermeneutics is how we approach the Bible. So any text we cover within the canon, is literally basically me teaching you guys how to do hermeneutics, how to do practice exegesis. That's what it is. For those of you who are not here, Maze, you've been to some of the old Bible studies, but it's very different than Enoch. So if you were not here prior to Enoch, definitely at least give us a shot this Sunday, because it's a very different game. It's a deep dive. Yeah, we miss you guys, man. You guys were key players, and then you got busy, and then you got super sick, which is understandable. But hopefully we see more of you. I'm switching jobs in a couple weeks, so I'll be able to jump in them. Beautiful, Danny. That'd be great. That'd be great, because you ask really good questions. So I'm sure that'll help other people too. And we got our eyes on importing that banana tree for the compound. Good God, dude. Good God. All right, 30 seconds. I'm wrapping up. I got to get the kiddo to bed. This was good, man. A lot of good stuff tonight. This is what I want. We hit the religion. We hit other religions. We just talk about life, man. Life. Because that is what spirituality is. In a sense. In a very complicated sense. Life is spirituality. Mikkel, you're a beautiful man. I'm so glad you're here, man. I'm so grateful you're here. All right, let me see. Perfect. All right, guys, we are done for the night. I love you all. Thank you, guys. Super good questions tonight. This was really interesting. Some of it was challenging, and that was very nice. Very nice. It was really good to see all of you. I feel like there was a lot more conversation than recently. This is real good. Real good. Appreciate everybody being here, giving us your time. Keep going with it, man. Keep going. Dig deep. Don't take the BS answers. Don't accept it. Keep rolling. Yeah, let's do that, Mikkel. So Grimes Graves said he popped in here real quick. He said hi, and then he said he's having a bad day, and then he disappeared. So everybody, like, take a moment of silence, do a prayer, whatever suits your beliefs and worldview for Grimes Graves, who is a lovely member. There he is. There he is. Yeah, let's all pray for him. Give him a quick moment of silence. Don't know what's going on, Graves, but we love you. We are sad when you are not here. It is noticed when you are not here. And, you know, we're glad you're here, but not glad that you're having a crappy day, man. So hopefully that improves. Hopefully you wake up tomorrow with at least a little bit better, marginally better would be fantastic, man. Just know that we're all thinking about you and are not happy to hear you're not having a great time. All right, y'all. We're shutting down. Love you guys. Love you guys. Love you guys. There will be polls up soon for the Bible study as well as for next Thursday. So be looking out for those. Mystic, I know I need to reply to you, so I'm going to try to get you back tonight, just so you know. Love you guys. Have a wonderful evening. Out.